good.
So, welcome to the Empowered Mom Show. And this time I have a special guest, Kyleigh. She is the Autonomy Mommy. Kyleigh, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kyleigh. I'm an online childbirth educator and a birth doula in Southwest Florida in the US. And I run an online childbirth education program called Autonomous Birth Academy. And so my mission is to help moms feel calm, capable, and totally in charge of their birth experience. I also have my own podcast called Our Birth Wisdom, where you can find me, and you can also find me on Instagram. So I'm really happy to be here.
I love your Instagram. Your videos
Thank
are
you
so
so
much
much.
fun.
It's a lot of fun. People get like the same people are in the comments all the time. So it's really a community, which is really special.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been doing so well with this too, because we just met almost a whole year ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels so much longer than that, based on how much we've grown. And wow, yeah, it feels a lot longer than that.
I know, right? So today you had a long list of stuff that you wanted to talk about. One was due dates, and then the other was, are we really against intervention, or is it more that we just...
Yeah, like, is this really anti-intervention, or like what is this? And why is birth not a medical event? I think we both feel pretty strongly that birth is definitely not a medical event. So those are kind of the topics that I would love to dive into.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to touch a little bit on your amazing home birth that you had with your first baby.
Yes.
I'm still blown away by the fact that, like, we both basically came into our pregnancy scared of birth. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But I mean, yours, you actually did it.
I remember being like in high school and being a kid and literally thinking, I'm just going to have a planned cesarean because I don't want to feel even one contraction. I was just like, I don't want to do that. But obviously, like, the more you learn about birth, and by the time I was pregnant, I was more scared of going to the hospital, honestly. So birth just in itself was so normal and natural. And like, I wasn't scared of the pain. I wasn't scared of the intensity. I wasn't scared. So yeah, I had a beautiful home birth with my first baby.
It's so ironic too. I mean, we both were basically thinking the same things. I'm never going to have a baby, or I'm going to be cut open, and that's what I'd rather have. And then what do we do?
Right. And now look at us. It's like birth is our entire life.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
Okay, so let's dive into your topics that you have today. I'm sure you have your own way of how you want to present them. So
yeah, I would love to maybe start with like why childbirth is not a medical event. So here's what I think about that. I think when we call birth as a whole a medical event, we start to pathologize the natural and physiological process of undisturbed birth. And it's obviously, to us, very well documented that for the vast majority of women, birth actually works better when it's left alone, when it's not medicalized. The hormones needed to give birth work better, they flow better when a woman is just left alone. So I think when we call birth from the beginning a medical condition or medical event, it's planting the seed in women's minds that birth doesn't work by itself, that birth can be like improved upon in some way. So I don't think birth needs to be medically managed. My online childbirth course is taught with the idea that birth doesn't need to be medically managed. But also, it's really important that emergencies do happen, and women need to feel supported by their community when those emergencies happen. So it's definitely not like us versus them, or this is better than that. It's in no way like that. But birth at its core, in my opinion, is absolutely not a medical event. Yeah,
I feel it needs to be more integrated with the mothers and the birthing people as the decision makers.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Having those options, like sometimes we need the medical side, and sometimes just leave us alone. I mean, babies are born in cars all the time.
All the time. Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, I just seen, I'm not sure, maybe it was in your group that you have the
Yeah,
mom that
she just
just had the
posted.
unassisted birth in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Birth just happens, right? Which is interesting because sometimes people ask me like, what is normal birth? Like, how do you define normal birth? And to me, normal birth is the way that mammals gave birth for 100 million years. They find a dark place, a safe place, and they literally just give birth. It's as easy as that. Like that woman in my Facebook group, just she gave birth unassisted in her bathroom. It just happens.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not what is usual now. In the States, the hospital birth rate is 99%. What is it in
Yeah,
Canada?
I think it's about the same. We have about a 1 to 2% home birth rate.
Yeah, yeah, same. Yeah, so that's interesting. I feel like now it's totally normalized that women have literally dozens of unnecessary interventions without like medical reason, and honestly a lot of times like without their consent, their explicit consent. And the evidence just really doesn't support the use of routine intervention almost ever. And routine intervention is like without the same intervention for everyone without medical reason. Yeah, so evidence really is not supporting that. So I think we need to really start thinking twice about the cervical checks and the IVs, things that that would seem like, oh, there's probably no risk to that. No, we need to start really considering what we're doing. Because I think when we're consenting to the ultrasounds, the cervical checks, the IVs, it plays into that idea that birth can be fixed or can be improved upon. But honestly, birth is this intricate process that has been perfected for 100 million years. And sometimes the new fancy technology is not what's going to help you have the empowered birth that you hopefully are hoping for.
Yeah, we don't need the machine that goes ping.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I was just reading my favorite birth book is The Thinking Woman's Guide to Birth. Is that what it's
Yes.
called? And oh, it's just fabulous. And
Still a classic, even though it was from the 90s, it's still a classic.
Exactly, but it's absolutely a classic.
Yeah, I have the same one. I went and got it last year, and I've been just diving into it. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like they
So
knew
good.
this in the 90s when I was a kid.
Right.
And it's still happening, and it's worse now. I'm not sure if you follow Michelle Tiliakos or not yet, but
a little bit, yeah, on Facebook a little.
Yeah, she does the Transforming Birth Luminaries, and she just posted on the cesarean rates here in the Lower Mainland, and we're almost at 50%.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
And is that increased because of the virus and?
I would say increased because of the virus, increased because of inductions, because a lot of moms have been told to just induce.
Yeah.
And in fact, today in another Facebook group, I saw, this just breaks my heart. First time mom, and she's like, my doctor said that I have the option to induce at 39 weeks if I want to. No medical reason, just I could be done with pregnancy. And I'm like, don't go out there. There's
Exactly.
like watching a horror movie with where you know the serial killer or whatever is out there, and they're going out the door, and it's like, no, stay inside.
It's like hard. And a lot of times those people are the ones that say, well, I really want like an unmedicated vaginal birth, but let me just induce, like, what's the worst that could happen? And you and me are sitting back like, okay, well, I know how this is going to play out most of the time. It's a sad reality that we can guess kind of who's going to go down that cascade of interventions. It's really,
which leads into due dates.
Yeah. So due dates, well, let's talk about like interventions as a whole first, and then I'll like segue into due dates. Like I said before, this is not about anti-intervention at all. I really dislike the demonization of intervention as a whole, because I feel like when we do that, we're not really supporting the mom whose cesarean really did save her life, or really did save her baby's life. Yes, cesarean should be closer to, 3 to 5%. I know the World Health Organization says like 10 to 15%, but it really doesn't even need to be that high. So this isn't anti-intervention. This is anti-routine intervention, like we said, anti-routine intervention without the explicit consent and without the medical indication. So that's what this is. No birth has like a moral superiority. It doesn't work like that. The only birth that we want for our clients, I think I'm speaking for both of us, is a birth where mom is completely in charge and can make decisions without coercion. So that's the ultimate goal. But when it comes to interventions, any intervention, and I'm talking leaving your house, ultrasounds, IVs, even the smallest, what we assume would be like no big deal, I like to say, first ask yourself why something even needs to be done. Because I feel like a lot of people skip that why, and they're just like, let's do it. It's normalized. But we need to get back to that why. Why would we even do something in the first place? Doing nothing should be the default, especially in like healthy pregnancies with healthy babies. The evidence is very, very clear that no intervention birth for low risk women, risk is entirely subjective anyways, but no intervention birth for low risk woman, the evidence proves that it's the safer option. So when it comes to due dates, I like to tell moms, stop looking at the calendar. The calendar is entirely subjective. It can be wrong. The history behind due dates is not evidence-based in the first place. But let's stop looking at a date on the calendar and start looking at your clock too. So when we talk about like membranes ruptured for over 24 hours, let's stop looking at the calendar, let's stop looking at the clock, and let's look at things that can actually be measured, like mom's vitals, baby's vitals. Those are the things that actually could tell you something. A date on a calendar is not going to tell you anything. But I like to tell moms too that healthy babies are born at all sorts of gestations, and sick babies are born at all sorts of gestations. So stop attaching yourself to this date on a calendar. Know that it could have been calculated wrong. Know that ultrasounds are notoriously wrong when estimating size. And I think if moms knew that, then they could really go into their birth with a lot less anxiety. And I really think that those last couple of weeks, last couple of days before your birth are so monumental and amazing and important and spiritual. And I really think that they affect how the birth plays out. So yeah, I look at vitals, look at things that can be tracked. Stop looking at dates on a calendar. That's what I have to say about due dates.
Yeah. And for me, when people kept asking me when Michaela was due, I said April, and her due date was March 29th.
Yeah, that's hilarious because mine was January 29th and I always said February. I never knew that about you. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually made up a due date. I picked February 2nd because I just thought that's 2/2 would be a really cool birthday. So let me just say it's February 2nd and maybe I can like will her to come on February 2nd.
I went further. I said April 12th because I'd be 42 weeks by then.
Yeah. And when did she come?
March 31st.
Okay.
She was like just shy of being an April Fool's baby.
Yeah.
If she had been born 30 minutes later, she
oh my gosh. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. No,
I think that I don't know. I think that babies understand and they pick their birthday 100%.
Well, Hunter actually says that he picked his birthday because he wanted to be 6 months from mine.
Wow. That's really cool.
He actually meant that, or if he's just saying things, I will never know.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. I can't wait till she talks and I'll ask her, if she chose us as parents or if she remembers.
I think you have to get them before the age of 3, and then
I've heard that.
That's what my friend Samantha said.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old's your daughter now?
Michaela is 5.
Oh my gosh.
She's going to kindergarten. It's
Oh
just
my gosh.
me quietly.
Yeah.
Quietly in the house.
That's life-changing. Very exciting.
I
More
bet
time to
your
change.
little one is walking around now, right?
Yep. All over the place. Almost a year and a half.
Oh gosh, they grow so fast. I remember when she was just a
Yeah.
teeny tiny little thing.
Yeah. Yeah, she was tiny when I first met you. And it's funny, I have younger brothers who are like 15 years younger than me. And I would think back and I could never remember them as babies. And I was like, is there something wrong with my memory? But now I realize they're only babies for like a blink of an eye. So of course I don't remember it because it was like, a couple months, decades ago. So
Yeah. And of course, when you're little, you don't really pay attention that much either.
Yeah.
It's all about you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what else did we have on that agenda? Because we had,
I guess earlier I hinted at that risk is incredibly subjective.
Yeah.
And I could jump into that real quick. Sometimes people assume that we need to be like looking to our care provider to evaluate risk for us. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I say basically what I'm about to say, but it's that you should really never be looking at your care provider to evaluate your risk for you, because risk is 100% incredibly subjective to each person, their religion, their life history, their beliefs, their preferences. So when we're talking about risk, it's something that like the pregnant person needs to consider for themselves and evaluate for themselves, period. And of course, you can ask other people for advice. It's great to ask people that you trust for their opinion and their advice. But in terms of deciding if something is risky or not risky, you and only you are the one who can choose that for yourself. And it's kind of like a radical idea. And I think it scares people because it's like, okay, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong and I'm the one who chose it and I should have listened to someone else who like knows more than I do. But here's something that I always thought about when I was pregnant. Would I rather, if there's going to be a bad outcome, quote unquote bad outcome, would I rather have trusted my intuition and had a bad outcome, or directly gone against my intuition, trusted someone else and had a bad outcome? And I always came back to, I think, and nothing ever happened, so I never know for sure, but I think I could handle it better if I trusted my intuition and something went wrong.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually teach that inside my program as well, about the whole thing with risk and how subjective it is. And I have a whole framework for assessing that as well. So
very cool.
That's awesome that you're doing something.
Yeah. And one of my, I have a chapter, a lesson also on risk, but it's more based on, in my course, it's more based on radical responsibility. So really understanding that you are completely in charge of your decisions, of your mindset, of your body, and to never get into the circle of, I didn't have a choice. There was no choice. I had to. I cut all of that out from our vocabulary, because even if choices were both not fun choices to make, or there weren't any good options, you still are the one who gets to choose. There is no, I had to be induced, because you're the one who got in the car and drove to the induction. Yes, of course, there are like the real situations of abuse where someone consents to a cervical check and their waters are ruptured without their consent. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, I wasn't allowed to have a VBAC. I had to have a cesarean. No, not necessarily. You know, there are options. You could give birth at home unassisted. You could travel to a different state or a different province or country or whatever and give birth, you know, vaginally. So I think it's really important to reclaim that power, because our words, the intention behind our words really matter.
Oh, totally. And I was just talking with a client about this earlier in the week as well when we were on our coaching call. And it was just, it's mind blowing that she has to go to like her doctor has to go to a panel to see if she's allowed to have a VBAC. And I'm like, but it's a baby coming out of a vagina. Like that's the default. That's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Do you trust vaginal birth or do you not trust vaginal birth? Like what's going on?
Well, we actually have babies out here who have like a 90% cesarean rate.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's they just don't trust vaginal birth. And it's like, if they don't trust vaginal birth, they should not be doctors.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works. That's how babies are born.
Wow. Yeah, it scares me for our future generations. I don't know, massive power outages or, you know, something like that where a hospital doesn't have power. Okay, now what's going to happen if no one can assist vaginal births? Not that any birth needs assisting. And my preference would be that every woman in the world like trusts her body and doesn't need help giving birth. But yeah, if 90% of women are having cesareans, wow, that's a scary future.
Yeah, it was staggering. But I mean, we get that all in the media too, with the TV shows that come on. I mean, The Walking Dead, it's like, oh, apocalypse. Oh no, a woman's pregnant. Oh, now she has to die. And it's like, what the hell?
Right? Yeah. What even happened during that scene? That made no sense. Like, let's just, yeah.
Yeah, no, it drives me absolutely insane. And it's that whole mindset. And people are like, well, it's just a TV show and they're just doing it for drama. It's like, yeah, but young women grow up with that. I grew up with that. You grew up with that.
It's life changing. It's society changing. It's really a big deal.
Or TLC's A Baby Story. That one was always, how am I getting my cesarean today?
Yeah. Yeah. I say it's so cool to be like the friend that went first. The friend that really trusted birth first, and now people can like turn to you and turn to me and just follow in our footsteps. It's really cool. Yeah.
And I did actually, my stepsister is still quite young and she was just asking me, it's like, so did you have both of your kids naturally? And I'm like, yeah, and my last one was at home. And she's like, really? And I was teaching her today. It's like, yeah, you know, it doesn't have to be this painful, horrific thing. Mm-hmm. And she was just absolutely fascinated because she'd never heard of it that way. And I mean, she's years and years away from having kids of her own, but I mean, it's just going first. And then same with my cousin too, my cousin Bibi, who's actually in the Facebook group. She had been paying attention to my stuff for years and I had no idea.
Wow. Yeah, like, all the people that pay attention, just, you know, quiet on the sidelines, paying attention, we're
you never know.
Making a difference.
You just never know. And that's why when you have an empowered birth, like shout it from the rooftops. Sure, you're going to get the haters. They're like, oh, you just want a trophy. But no, keep doing it because it's breaking down that culture of fear and it's challenging it. And
absolutely,
it's amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, when you can feel like really in charge of your birth and have that like real powerful experience, it sets your motherhood journey up and like just your postpartum in general. It just sets you up so perfectly to have a blissful postpartum period. I say often, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, but to plan for postpartum, plan for your birth, because honestly, if you have such an amazing birth experience, and it doesn't even have to be like quote unquote perfect, things don't have to go how you planned, but if you prepare your mind to handle it all, you're not going to need to heal yourself postpartum. And I think the hardest part about postpartum for a lot of people, whether they know it or not, is they're trying to process their birth experience while lack of sleep, while having this newborn who's possibly crying. You can't, I mean, it's very hard to heal yourself while you're going through that. So I really think do the work to do the mindset work mostly, and learning your options to set yourself up for a good birth experience.
Yes, and that goes even with planned cesareans now. Like I talk to my clients about that. It's like, if you're going to plan a cesarean, or if a cesarean becomes necessary, have that plan for postpartum, to have that support around you, because you're going to need it. And even if you've had a straightforward vaginal birth at home in the pool, like, I still set up that support for myself, and my family all thought I was crazy because I was expecting them to actually take care of me. But I'm like, I could be like in the Eastern cultures where I stay in bed for 40 days.
Sounds fantastic. Sign me up for my next birth. Sign me up.
Well, if I'm lucky enough to have another one, I would likely just bring all of my friends in the Lower Mainland, all the doulas, and they'd be my postpartum support.
Right.
I'm sure they'd be all for
That
it.
community is so powerful. I didn't have that when I gave birth, and I still honestly don't really have that here, but it is kind of my dream to really have this mother circle where we know each other through pregnancy, and then postpartum everyone can be there to support, whether that be through food. Food is such an easy way to support people.
Food is love.
An ear, yeah.
It's just too bad you're so far away.
I know. I'm so far away from all of my internet birth worker friends. One day we'll throw a huge party somewhere and we'll make it happen.
Heck yes. So what else did we have on the topics? Because I know you had quite a lot.
Yeah, I can talk about how to mentally prepare for birth, because I just said I think it's like the most important part. So my framework, I guess, has 5 pillars of mental birth preparation. The first one is understanding your options, but truly understanding them. Learning the why, the what, the how, the when, all of it. Because learning how to make informed and intuitive and autonomous decisions literally will change your birth. You want to make decisions, again, based on your own preferences, not to make anyone else's life easier, not to make your care provider's life easier, not because they told you to. No, none of this. We are our own sovereign human, and this is our birth experience. So that's number 1, learning your options.
Oh, I love it. I love that you have 5 pillars as well, because I have my own 5 pillars.
Isn't that funny? I swear we were like spot on, but like different sections of the world and different types of offerings. But oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool.
So number 2, isn't that cool? Number 2 is practicing pain coping skills. Literally sit down, set aside time, and legitimately practice. So intentional pain coping skills, intentional practice sessions where you're trying all sorts of coping techniques and literally finding ones that you like, that work for you. So don't let your labor and birth be the first time that you're trying these types of things, whether it be breathing techniques, positions, partner touch, all of it. Try it in pregnancy so that by the time your birth comes, you can almost like subconsciously rely on your favorite breathing technique or whatnot. That's something that's like really skipped over. I actually have moms a lot of times reach out to me like 38 weeks, 40 weeks. Hey, should I like do anything to practice like coping with intensity or pain? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Literally every day from now until you give birth, hold ice cubes, live mindfully. If you stub your toe, like release the tension and just watch the pain go away. But it is, I mean, it's something that I think people need to actually sit down and do.
Yeah.
Invest your time into it.
Yeah, the ice never worked for me. I tried the ice and I'm like, no, this is just cold. I can't deal with the cold. But
That's hilarious.
with
But
Michaela,
it's
I
very,
experimented in early labor. Um,
oh,
for
cool.
frozen. And I clenched my jaw. Like I basically took Ina May Gaskin's book and I just experimented with everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have my mouth closed for a contraction, and that doesn't feel good. And then I'm going to open wide. Oh, okay, so this works. And then like I was playing around because I'm a birth nerd. I mean, come on, we do that.
Good
I'm
for
sure
you.
you're probably
That's
going to be
amazing.
playing around with the next one.
Yeah, that's amazing. My first birth was 9 hours, um, with 4 hours of pushing, so 5 hours to completely dilate it. So we'll have to see what this next one's gonna be if I ever have another.
Well, you know what? You're going to have to tell me when you do because I'll be so excited for you. Oh, I want
Am
another
I
one.
still frozen a little bit, or is
You
it
are
better?
you are still frozen a little bit, so we'll wait until that clears up. What is going on with our internet? Okay, I think you're back. I think you're back.
Okay. All right. And if it ever goes out, you can just interrupt me and finish my sentence because you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So if you wanted to just go back and finish what your thought was, because you did freeze on that one.
Yeah. So we were on number 2. So practicing pain coping skills, legitimately sit down, practice techniques. So when it comes time for your birth, you know what you want to call upon. So that's number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3 is overcoming your fears. This is huge. If you can go into birth with no fears, completely trusting, I mean, I just think that's the best place to be. I'm not shaming you if you're afraid. I'm not saying fears are horrible. I'm saying that if you can work through your fears, you'll probably have less tension. You'll probably have less anxiety and pain, and your hormones can flow better. So overcome your fears. Face them head on. I keep asking myself, why? I'm scared of this. Why? I'm scared of that. Why? And eventually you get to the root of it, one fear, 2 fears, maybe at the end you say, I don't know why I'm scared of that. And then it's like, good, then you don't have to be scared of it.
Exactly.
You can trust now, right? The 4th one is developing your personal autonomy. So that is really the root of my business. So autonomy to me in birth includes tuning into your intuition and honoring and respecting yourself enough to honor your intuition, I guess. It includes building your confidence and practicing saying no, legitimately practicing. It includes living authentically without fear of judgment, without caring what other people have to say. And it's the radical responsibility. So taking responsibility for your thoughts and your choices. And I feel like this is such an important part of birth prep that is really ignored. I think everyone knows that they need to be able to stand up for themselves, but a lot of people don't understand that it's a change that needs to happen in your life as a whole. In pregnancy, before pregnancy, if anyone's still trying to conceive, make that switch to really live authentically and state your truth and stand up for yourself. It's so huge in birth.
Oh, and it's so powerful too, especially after birth, because then that's really when I started to really stand on my own and taking charge in every aspect. Like I'll just sit there and I'll put my boundaries in place and I'll say, that doesn't work for me. And people are like, who is this person who just is telling us what she's not going to put up with?
I love
But
that.
I mean, it's fantastic. And
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Practice that even before you get pregnant, because then when somebody tells you, I mean, I just saw your video where it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. No.
Shameless, just
Yes.
no. And I feel like when you can have a community like your community or my community where you're around women that are standing up for themselves, it's a lot easier to stand up for yourself because you're like, well, if those people can do it. I can do it. You know, we're in this together. If they're not ashamed, I'm not ashamed. I'm going to say no. It doesn't matter. It matters what I want matters. It doesn't matter what my care provider thinks or my mom or my mother-in-law. And honestly, a lot of times it doesn't matter what the father of your kid thinks. And that's a radical belief. But I really think that birth needs to be what you want first and foremost.
Well, it's your body and your baby.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
we grew that baby inside of us. We know more about that baby even than the dad. Like they can bond after the birth, but we still know our kid pretty well.
Yep. Spot on. And the last pillar is calming your mind. This kind of is like an overarching theme that all of these pillars can go into, but I tell all of my clients and students to practice meditation skills. Even if you're someone who really doesn't want to like sit down and be mindful at all, I really urge people to do it. And I don't think you necessarily need to like sit down and close your eyes and meditate like what you see on TV or in movies, right? You don't have to do it, but just be mindful about your body and connect to your body and connect to your senses. So like almost body scan meditations. What muscles are tense? What aches am I feeling? What pains am I feeling? What feels good? Because when you can get rid of the fear that comes with the fight or flight reflex, we want that reflex because that's in charge of adrenaline and hormones that really like spark us up in birth. But if we can get rid of the fear behind it and the tension and anxiety behind that, that is like the pinnacle of an amazing birth experience. I also like to say that you birth how you live. So if you freak out a lot in your life and you're anxious in your life and you're anything but calm in your life, that might be how you're going to be in labor. I would guess that that's going to be how you are in labor. So if you practice the mindset skills every single day, so much so that they become second nature to you, then you can call upon them in labor. You will probably think that everything you've ever practiced went out the window while you're in labor. That's why you need to do it so much that it's just subconscious to you. You're just subconsciously calm, almost watching your labor happen through your eyes, without the freak out, without the tension, without the running away, if possible. So you birth how you live. Start embodying that calmness that you want in your birth. Start embodying that right now.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad and my stepmom are back with their.
Oh, that's okay. We can wrap up.
Oh no, it's okay. She's just taking them upstairs. It's just we have the dog barking in the background. She's okay. Yeah, she's headed upstairs. So yeah, I mean, I love everything that you're doing with this mindset work because it's so close to exactly what I've been doing myself when I was preparing for my birth with Michaela, right down to the visualizations. For me, it's water. Water is a powerful visual for me.
Cool.
And I'm also a birth nerd, so I did also picture her actually descending into the pelvis. And but just having that calm, and you're right, like you birth how you live. And like, I love this so much, Kyleigh. You've done such an amazing job with this already.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to challenge you to write a book.
Oh, someone else talked to me about that recently. And I think my dad asked me and I'm like, whew, that's a big feat, but I'm sure it'd be cool if that was in my future.
Well, I've got my rough draft done, so I can always walk you through a really quick process and getting it done. But I know that you also have a squishy little one. And yes, and she's walking now, so you probably have to chase after her.
Yeah, she's walking now. Yeah. And you know what? My partner, my boyfriend, her dad is actually going to become a stay-at-home dad next week.
Okay.
Isn't that amazing? So he is going to stay home. I am going to do my best to support this family with my childbirth education course. And I'm super excited because I'm going to have more time to create awesome things. So I just can't wait.
And then you can also be with your clients as well and help them
Yeah.
through that transition. It's so amazing to do.
Yeah. Not have to worry about what I'm going to do with my daughter when someone goes into labor. So
Yeah.
I just take 2 people in person now every month. That's my max. And it's almost become more of that's like fun for me to really support someone in person. So I don't feel, it's interesting. Like I don't feel like I need to rely on that for income, which makes me enjoy it even more. It's really special.
Right? I mean, I do the virtual side of it, of course, because a lot
Mhm.
of my clients are just all over the place. But even just doing it virtually, it's like, oh, I wish I was there in person. And
Yeah.
the future, I could be. But right
There you go.
now, with the kids as little as they are and taking up all the attention and not having the child care, I mean, you're so lucky that
Mhm.
your partner is going to do
I
that.
pinch myself.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Isn't that cool?
So, is there anything else you wanted to cover? Because we do have about
Um,
like 15 minutes.
well, let me tell you guys about the free class I have coming. I'm teaching a free online course where I'm going to be teaching you how to go with the flow during your birth without giving away your power and without setting unrealistic expectations. So going with the flow is kind of a debated phrase in the birth world, because 99% of the people who say they're going to go with the flow are so incredibly unprepared to actually like release the clinging and just, let it unfold without anxiety really and tension. So like I said, 99% of the people are just so unprepared to go with the flow in a way that will leave them with an empowering birth experience. So that's what we're going to be talking about in my free masterclass. I'm going to teach you the single biggest mindset shift that you need to make before going with the flow in birth. And then I'm going to tell you the 4 mistakes that moms make when they think they're going to go with the flow, but these things are stopping them from actually going with the flow. So whether you're trying to conceive or already pregnant, this is going to be an amazing experience. And my goal is that you can actually relax going into your due date. More than anything else, I want to help moms bring their baby into this world the way that they want to. So I'm not about natural birth, home birth, hospital birth. I'm not about any of that. I'm about autonomous birth. So what do you want? And let's make that happen in an empowering way. So I want you to give birth with autonomy, basically. And you can register at The Autonomy Mommy. The Autonomy Mommy is my business name. So theautonomymommy.com/register. And I would love to see you guys there.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much, Kylie. Like, this is going to be
Thank
an
you.
amazing class. And I'm so happy that you have this set up now.
Thanks. I'm channeling my inner Carly because this is something that you've been doing for so long, is teaching these like live classes, and this is my first. So I'm excited and nervous, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm going to have to get on your podcast at some point too, because like,
Oh, I love it.
I love this so much, and we need to bring you in again for another talk.
I would love it. Yeah, we should do a quarterly catch up.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. Let's definitely pencil that one in.
Okay.
You have your Instagram handle. I usually just call you the Autonomy Mommy, so because I already followed you, but what is the actual Instagram handle?
Yeah, so it's at The Autonomy Mommy. And that's actually my name and handle for everything. So my website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything.
Yeah, it's like me with Empowering Mom's Birth. The only one I couldn't get was Twitter because apparently Empowering Mom's Birth is too long.
Oh, is it? Okay. What are you on Twitter then?
EM Birth Canada.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Yeah. But most of the time my Instagram just puts things on Twitter or my blog. But
I set mine
yeah,
too.
no.
Yeah. Instagram is where you can find me. And yeah, you can catch my free class. If you're not available those days, you can sign up anyway. You're going to get a replay. But yeah, come find me on Instagram. I go against the grain. I don't follow the status quo. And honestly, it doesn't upset that many people. And it's really cool that we've kind of created this community of just strong women who don't take crap from anyone.
And your videos are just so much fun to watch. They just really are.
Oh, thank you. I do. Yeah, I do a lot of like TikTok and reels. And what I do is I almost take like really traumatic, horrible experiences and almost like bring laughter into them in a way that we can look back at our past and be like, that was horrible, but now I know better, and I can do better next time and choose better for myself. So I talk a lot about traumatic birth and yeah, just bad care providers, but I make it funny, and I just hope to bring a smile to people's lives.
Sometimes you just need that laughter, though. That's another release.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
boosts oxytocin too for anybody who's close to their due date. Like, laughter is a great one.
Yeah, it's so true.
Okay, well, I know you probably have to get back to your
Well,
little
thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it's bedtime here.
it's bedtime for little babies, and then mommy time, so you can rest, relax. But
Well,
we
thank
will
you so
definitely
much for
catch up
having me
again.
on.
And
Yes.
look forward to this class. I'm going to register just so I can watch the replay. I do have stuff
Fantastic.
going on Tuesday, so I'll have to just register.
That's the replay. Absolutely.
But oh, I love it. I love it, Kyleigh. Thank you so much for coming on. And again, everyone, Kyleigh is in the Facebook group, so you can tag her. If you have any questions, if you want to learn more about her program, if you want to learn more about her class or what she's talking about on Instagram, and you have a Facebook group, Kyleigh, so you're welcome to mention the Facebook group.
Thank you.
To add, because we need more mom groups that are actually supportive. I am so fed up with the mommy shaming groups. It is not even funny. So when I find a birth worker like yourself who is aligned like I am, that we really want to transform that community and have that support, like I am all for it. So yeah, just drop all of your information in either the chat, or you can make your own private post to put in the group. And definitely follow Kyleigh. She's amazing. I love her stuff, and everything that she talks about is completely aligned with what Empowering Moms stands for and what the Autonomy Mommy stands for. And we're all about supporting you in whatever birth you want. All right, so I will talk to you later, and I will try and figure out how to edit this podcast. I may be sending you a message later to be like, how do I do this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Send me a message. I have done enough now where I can probably help.
Yes. And podcasts are new to me. I'm good with the live streams, but podcasts are a new thing. So I'm very excited that Zoom has that feature that just turns everything into audio. So I will talk to you later, and you have a great night.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, bye.